Peace and greetings. God is Queen Jamila here. So, if you've been watching my channel and if you would like, you can subscribe and share the video. I think it's actually kind of important to share it, especially if like you and your sister, your friend, your homie want to move to Africa and you want somebody who's there boots on the ground who hasn't gone completely back crazy. I've only recently just started watching other people's YouTube channels, like really kind of watching it because I'm not really good at watching other people's stuff because I live here. I don't really, most of the channels that I watch on YouTube, honestly, are about food. Let me just keep it real. I have a hard time um, with restaurants here that don't offer what I want. And for the last 2 weeks, I've been watching crab boils, mukbangs with crab boils, and I can't wait to eat, some shellfish. I'm a pescatarian and I have not been delivered from shellfish. I only started eating shellfish later on in life. I only started when I was about 30, 31, which was like last year. But yeah, I'm in my shellfish era. So, anyhow, I would like to talk to you about bribes. Now, well, bribes, corruption, lawlessness on the continent. Now, as you may have seen from my last video, I have been to 11 countries here, and my perspective and my videos are based off of my experience traveling east, west, south. I've not been to North Africa. I've not been to Morocco yet. Maybe I'll go this year. Maybe not. But at any rate, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about bribes, okay? And what you should know. If you are anything like me, when you heard the word bribe mentioned, you instantly felt a sense of discomfort and panic. Okay. When somebody says, oh my God, I had to give a bribe, or we had to bribe, or they were expecting a bribe in Africa, like I used to hear about things like that, and I'd be like, just terrified. Just like, oh my God, the bribe. And now that I live here, I realize that there's a few things that you should know. The first thing is that the bribes here is not like what the bribes are in the United States of America. If you read a newspaper article and it says that the director of the FCC was bribed, that man got about $355,000, probably as a deposit. If somebody is bribing you here in Africa, like your total is probably going to be about $3.55. It could just be 55 cents. Like Africa bribes do happen, but they usually take place on a very like small scale, day-to-day living kind of way, and tend to take place with like law enforcement, security, stuff like that. You'll be driving down the street, they'll pull you over, you're like, what's up? And their mission, like their whole MO, is to take up as much time as possible until you just be like, look, just take this 10 Dalasi or 10,000 shillings or 20,000 shillings or 15 CDs and go. And these amounts are like $3.55, maybe $1.55, maybe 55 cents. It's not much. Sometimes they even come out and just ask you directly, like, can you just give me something? you know? And a big point for you to remember, and this is something I'm going to be saying a lot on my videos, is that it's not personal. It's not about the fact that you're a foreigner. They didn't look at you in the car and say, look, an American, or look, someone from UK. They're not looking at you and pointing you out as a foreigner and then pulling you over for that. Um, in most cases, almost everywhere on this continent, people are asked just because people are asked. Like it's almost a way of life here for security, law enforcement, and stuff like that to be kind of begging for money. And when we were living in Gambia, my husband used to always say, like, I feel so sorry for these people because they don't get paid much anyways. And so they're always asking for money to get food or drinks, and people tend to give it to them. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of hype, I think, or misunderstanding about bribe. Because we've been taught bribes from a high level scale. Most of the time, when we hear about a bribe, it's like a big political official. It's a big something that it's a big cover up, like it's a big deal. So it involves big money. But here, it's kind of like embedded as an everyday part of life. Um, what's a little less in your face, but also like well known, is corruption. So there's not a really clear system of checks and balances from what I've noticed, at least governmentally wise. And with our system is designed a certain way to make sure that the president doesn't have total power and can't be, a king or a fascist leader. Like somebody still has to approve, or someone can still say, no, you can't do that. So there's the executive, legislative, and judicial branch in the states. And even if the president is like, I'm going to do this, then a judge, Supreme Court judge, can still, like, they can decide, like, no, this is how we interpret the law, so you can't technically do this. So, or Congress can block something, filibusters or whatever. So there's checks and balances that we're accustomed to, that we're aware of. But I don't really hear about checks and balances like that in the government and then on the continent. So you have a lot of instances where you'll find like just plain flat out corruption. And I don't know, it's a little different in that, I mean, this is the issue. The issue is I'm thinking about two different answers just based off of two different countries that I have a lot of experience with as an example. So in Tanzania, there's not a whole lot of outcry for things like corruption. It definitely takes place. It's here, I'm sure, somewhere swirling. And like Kenya, so it's there and it's there swirling, of course. It's everywhere. But the way I've seen Kenyans respond, baby, Kenya is the Nigeria of Africa. Okay, they are the East Coast Nigeria. Kenyans will get will gang bang. We were in Kenya maybe about 6 months ago just to go visit and have a spend a little time, have a little vacation. We were in Nairobi, and when I was in New York planning to go to Nairobi, there was all this stuff on the news about it's not safe in Kenya and that protests and everything like that, and don't go to Kenya, don't go to Nairobi. So I was like, okay, we walking right into the protest. We walking right in. Okay, I be feeling like a man when I walk up. Where's the protest at? Sign me up. Can you add my name to the list? Goddess, Queen, Shamila, like add my name. Because I'm with y'all, with the people. That was until I heard people was getting beat up for real. But no, I still would have been like, I'm gonna stand in the back and I'm still gonna be with the people. But what was really interesting is when we got there, we were like, where's the protest? And if they were like, they've died down like 10 weeks ago. And I was like, wow, New York really out here false claiming protest. The news in the States was over there acting like probably showing footage from 10 weeks ago, but it had died down. But one of the things I really appreciated was we were talking to one of our friends and he was just explaining to us like the nature of the protests. And they were talking about Kenyan burning stuff down. And he was like, yeah, we told the politician that we didn't want them to increase the fees. And they passed a bill anyways to increase the fees. So we found out which businesses they own in the city and we went and we burned those down. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. And that was like, okay. Like it was a very clear response, a very clear um, retaliation to this concept of corruption. You are in government, you are an agent and officer of the people. And if people vote no, then you need to cast that vote on behalf of the people. And so the policy did end up changing just because there were some egregious attacks on the politicians. But one of the things that our friend said that I thought was worth noting is that he's like, we don't do stupid stuff. Like we're not about to kidnap your family and attack your children in broad daylight. We're not messing with people's wives, no women, no children. We're not messing with people's wives and children. We're just making the point. And the point is that our dollars fund you. And if you are not willing to support our cause, then your life will be gravely affected economically as well. So I really appreciated that. I mean, truth be told, I really do like Kenyans. I can't say that I have ever been to Kenya and been like, God, these people, I'm always like, yes, Kenyan, yes. So I'm gonna adjust my computer. Okay. So that is something worth noting in terms of corruption. And, I think it is a really good thing for you to understand, like, just the concept of corruption and how different it is here. Like, corruption could be something as simple as there's money being allocated towards roads and no work is being done. The roads are still non-roads. There's just pathways. Okay. And that's a big thing for me. I don't know. I think the more refined I get, the more I would like ease and convenience and smooth living to add to my soft life. Um, there's a time period in Dar es Salaam where it gets really hot. It's like December and January. And when it does, everything gets on my nerves. Everything gets on my nerves. Like every single thing gets on my nerves in December and January. And the roads are always at the top of the list. Like leaving the house is a problem, returning into the house is a problem. Just be tired. I'd be tired. I'd be like, oh God, these roads. Because they're not paved. There's it's just bumps and humps and trash and rocks and jumps and that can get everywhere. Like you rocking side to side, you definitely can't eat a bowl of cereal. It's not the time to be drinking a cup of coffee on your way to work when you're bumping and humping. It could just make small experiences just feel like so that is how corruption extends itself in a place like this. Like that there are things that are supposed to be done that are not being done. And so the money allocated, you wonder, like, what are you guys doing with the money? Because we needed those things done. We needed them done. So that's it. All right. Now let's go into lawlessness, right? Because I would say I've not really been to like a lawless place. Like I don't know what Togo was like for real, for real. Um, I only grazed through it to get to another country. And Malawi did the same thing, grazing. So I'm not really spending too much time in those two countries. Not saying that they're lawless either, just saying that I don't know them like that. I've heard that Uganda can be lawless. I've heard. And when we talk about lawlessness, that is when you can't go to the police for help because the police not number one don't have no power, not gonna do nothing, might end up taking a bribe or trying to like that's a lawless country when the police are the ones showing up doing the gang banging. You in uniform and you not protecting the third thing. Or even if the vigilantes are the ones running things and the police can't do anything about it or won't do anything about it, that is lawlessness. And I don't know nothing about that life. I will say that with full confidence. I don't know anything about the lawless side of Africa for real, because I have never been in a situation where the law didn't know what time it was and that there's going to be consequences and repercussions. There was a time I was in Ghana, of all places, and I came out there in a little black dress. Everybody who knows what a little black dress is knows that it ain't no pockets. There's nothing. There's just me and the dress. And I came out in a little black dress with a little clutch. I had a clutch bag, just clutch. Clutch means it could be the size of this notebook, like smaller than the notebook, just something to hold on to. And I had money in there, my ID, and I think my phone. Of course, my phone. So I'm leaving, I'm on my way to this birthday party. And as I'm on my way to this birthday party, the police pull us over. I'm in an Uber, pull us over, and they're giving the guy a hard time. Then they start questioning me. Then they tell me to get out the car. Then when I get out the car, they're like, we have to search you. And I'm like, search what? Search what? I don't have anything, clearly. And they're like, we need to search your bag. And I'm like, search. So I opened the bag, and the bag literally has two sections, the main section and then that back pocket. So I opened the back pocket. That's where my money is and my ID. And then I open the big part. They're like, no, we need to see the back pocket. I said, let me explain something to you. Ain't shit in this back pocket for you. Let me just make that clear. So they're like, no, but we need to search it. So I'm like, okay, you can search all you want. So they look, I pull out the money. They're looking at the money. The count. I said, you can look through it, you could count it, you could feel it, you could sniff it, you could do whatever you want to do to it. It's still coming home with me. Let's be clear. Let me tell you something. I am not the one or the two. Like I'm like I appreciate Tanzania so much because before coming here, I might be out tearing the club up. I was a different kind of person. I came to Tanzania because I needed some peace in my life. We all needed peace. We all need more peace. And I needed to become peace so that I could live as peace. So I don't have to go nowhere else to absorb peace. I can just be at peace. And Tanzania has definitely helped me with that because maybe I came over here with a chip on my shoulder. But yeah, money went back in the bag. Everything else went back in the bag. And I got back in the car. And the driver he was just apologizing profusely. He was so apologetic. But I was like, you know what? Okay. At the end of the day, he did. So I've definitely heard stories about people paying bribes for immigration related things and then having to continue to pay bribes or, things going left with that. So there are situations that are outside of the norm where people do pay for some extra assistance. But, one of the things to note is um, there are things that even I would be willing to pay for that have helped us in the past. Like, for example, we needed a student visa for my son, and we like needed it before we left. We were going to go visit New York. Was applying for an internship there, and we needed it ASAP. And so we paid extra so that the officer would process it early before we go. That to me, like that, it's called a bribe. The expedited fee. That's the expedite charge. That's what I call it. A lot of times when we think about um these things, it can sound very overwhelming because it's so confusing. It's like, well, one of the questions I used to ask when people would be like, oh, yeah, give her something. I'd be like, how much do I give her? Somebody does something for you, you want to give them something. The question I never know, like, how much should I give them? How much? How much? I don't know. Is $20 too much? And when it comes to stuff like that, please ask questions. Please ask. Do not tip people and do all that. As a matter of fact, in Africa, when you go out to eat, don't be doing all that $20 tipping and stuff. Oh, they give me great service. Don't do that because you make things hard for us, the people who live here. If you come to visit, bring your visiting behind on and follow the norms and the rules and stuff. Don't come over here doing your own thing because it affects everybody. It definitely affects everybody. And people start to create their expectations based off of what the last American person did. And that can be very tricky because I live here. So I should make that a song. I live here. Like you may travel and do this and do that, but baby, I live here. Like I'm not new to this. This is my life. So definitely just wanted to give you all that short kind of explanation about like bribes, corruption, lawlessness. So you can understand that there are levels to it, but I would say 100,000%, like I still feel pretty great, about living here and knowing that there's bribes, corruption, and lawlessness everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, in the US, we don't see as much lawlessness, but I'm sure it exists in some places. There's some small towns that I'm sure operate with their own rule book and rule of laws, and that's not anywhere in the system, but y'all just don't make something up and do it. I mean, we saw it in Rebel Ridge with Aaron Pierre. That's Mufasa. So yeah, if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Please subscribe and share the video. And if there's any other topics that you would like me to cover, drop them in the comments. All right. Love you guys. I will see you sooner rather than later.